Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Merrillville Town Council meeting for today, Tuesday, February 11th at 6:30. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for our invocation. Oops. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Feel free to pray with me. Father, we thank you today for this great town that we live in. We thank you, Lord, for the men and women that keep us safe and that serve our communities, the fire, the police. We ask that you would bless them and keep them. We thank you for those that have taken on the burden and the mantle to legislate our great town. And so we're asking tonight, Lord, for great wisdom. We ask that you would heal the divide in our town so that we can accomplish great things for you and that this land would be blessed. I ask that your blessing would be upon every agency that is helping to improve this town, whether it be government or civil. We're asking, Lord, that you would just bless this great town in all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Please be seated. Thank you. Mr. January, would you call the roll of the council, please?
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Present.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton. Councilwoman Uselak.
Here.
Councilman Pettit.
Here.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Here.
President Bella.
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. Moving on tonight to the consent agenda, we have the accounts payable register voucher for February 11th, the AP register summary for ARP purchases for the same date, and also the approval of the town council meeting minutes of January 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pettit, second by Mrs. Uselak for approval. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on tonight to standing committee reports, budget and finance. Councilor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. I have no report for tonight.
Thank you. Street Department, Mrs. Uselak.
Yes. Steve had taken bids regarding the, let me see, what was that? Regarding the NDOT Community Crossings Agreement.
Yes.
And also the annual paving contract. He had 2 bids on the paving contract, and we accepted the milestone. So before I ask for a motion, Steve King, would you please give a presentation on this?
Yes, I will. So, January the 28th, we opened the community crossings bid for the community crossings projects. We had 2 bidders. We had Reith Riley Construction, came in at a total bid of $2,286,174.28. We also received a bid from Milestone. Milestone's bid came in at $2,244,000, $2,244,976.99. And the documents have been reviewed, and Milestone is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for that project.
Thank you. Well, Mr. President, I will go ahead and ask for a motion. I move that the community crossings agreement between the town of Merrillville and NDOT be approved and the town council president be authorized to execute with his signature.
Using milestone?
Yes. This is our first motion
Okay.
for $1.5 million.
I think this one's a 2.2 million.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 2.2 million?
2.244976.
Okay.
Is
Then
there
we
a second? Is there a second on?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the milestone contract, the amount of $2,244,976.99. Open for discussion. Anything else to add, Steve?
Not at this time, no.
This is a big amount. Let's do a
Yes.
roll call vote. Mr. January, please.
Sure.
Let the record show that Leona has joined us also tonight. Okay.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries, Mrs. Uselak.
thank you. Then we will go ahead with the second motion. Bids were received for the annual paving agreement with BFS. Bids were opened on 1/28/25. We received the following bids from Wright, Riley, and Milestone. Would you please say the correct figures, Steve?
I think this one is actually the local roads and bridges matching grant agreement.
Yeah, so BF&S is Butler, Fairman, and Cypher. They were the engineers that we worked on with the Community Crossings grant. So we're not awarding anything to BF&S. We awarded the paving contract last year to Milestone as well. A little over about $6 million we awarded, so.
This agreement's for this. That's what you gave us,
Yeah,
of the two bids.
I don't know where the annual paving I don't know where this,
It's not that, it's just for community crossings.
yeah, it's just Community Crossings. I don't know where, we bid that last year.
Got it.
Okay, I don't have anything else.
Do we need action on this, Mr. Griffin?
Mr. President, you do. These are bids, as it was reported to you by Mr. King, I should be standing, I beg the council's pardon. Milestone is the lowest apparently, and also by review of BF&S, they recommend that you find Milestone to be the lowest, most responsive and responsible bidder in the amount of $2,444,976.99. And this does mean the cost of our share to meet the Community Crossings matching grant, which is actually 1.2 something million. We could go up to 2.4 million. That would include our match for the projects. And they're saying about 2.24 might be the cost.
Yep.
Joe, didn't we just make the motion on this?
Yeah, we didn't make a motion.
I'm confused.
There's no-
This says 1.5 million.
Mr. President, it is really up to 1.5 million. That's just the amount we're getting from NDOT. The total project amount, because we have to dollar for dollar match, can be up to 2.4 million as it turns out. We didn't get the full 1.5. So it's going to be 1.2, provided our bids allow for that. And as you can see, the bid is at 2.24. So we'll ultimately get half of that from NDOT, and the other half has to come from a local source. Correct. So you've already approved the agreement with NDOT and the signature to participate in their grant. Now you have to approve the project estimate for the work that will be matched by NDOT, with the lowest responsible bidder coming from Milestone.
Right.
Okay.
Just say so.
Well,
moved,
Mr. President, I move that the BFS bid be found to be the lowest, most responsive and responsible bid, and that the bid be awarded to BFS. That is my motion.
Thank you. Was there a second on Mrs. Uselak's motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? It's just two different steps, Keisha. It's, you know,
Well, I thought we were going with Milestone.
we are.
We are.
We are.
Any other discussion? January roll call, please.
Vice President Neal,
Yes.
I wish I knew.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes,
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella,
Aye.
7 in favor.
7 in favor, motion carries, Marge.
okay, thank you. Continuing on with my report for the street department, Mr. King and his staff, they have been pre-treating and salting roads for the ice. We are supposed to have a snowstorm coming tomorrow, and from what I hear, 4 to 6 inches, so Steve, in his tenacity, has been very good out there, doing all this work today and being prepared for tomorrow. And he's also put down the brine solution of salt and the beet juice, so the streets will not freeze. So that is my report for now, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I add to that?
Ms. Hardaway?
Can we remind the residents that when it is 2 inches of snow, even though it's been all over social media, we'd just like to put out a reminder that when it's 2 inches or more, that cars should move off of the streets to allow for the snow plows to get through and be effective in plowing the streets for the residents.
Good reminder.
Yes, thank you. I brought that up at the last meeting too, Keisha. I had seen the snow plow the last time going around cars that were parked on the street. So please move your car. Put it in your driveway. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to council affairs, Councilman Pettit.
No report.
Personnel policy and employee benefits, Ms. Hardaway.
I would like to defer to Mr. Griffin for the announcements.
Mr. President, with your permission and also the permission of the Personnel Committee Chair, as the council knows, you serve under pursuant to the ordinance MCC Section 13.5-1. You are the park authority for the town of Merrillville. It was in that role that you conducted an interview with a candidate to be our park director in executive session, which is permissible under the list of uses for that. I extended an offer and he accepted. The newer news you may not be aware of is that he wanted to have 2 weeks to be able to give his employer reasonable time, which we think is reasonable because we love that same courtesy. As it turns out, once he announced his intention to depart, his current employer was very happy to see him join us sooner. So he'll be starting this Thursday.
That's something.
He'll be starting this Thursday with the town. I'm very excited about that. His name is actually James Gerald McCartney, but he goes by Jerry McCartney. He did accept our offer. He'll be onboarding beginning on Thursday, and his first meeting after that will be to meet with our consultant over the park master plan. Under the statute, I am permitted to make that offer, and I don't know if there's anything further that has to be done by the board unless it chooses to.
It might be nice to show Mr. McCartney that we also support Mr. Griffin's hire, and if Keisha wouldn't mind making a motion to that effect, might be nice coming from the council.
I would like to make a motion to hire Mr. McCartney for the Parks Director position.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I want to thank the entire council for participating in the interview process, too. That was great. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The motion carried.
That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Environmental Affairs, Mrs. Uzelak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I had a call last week from a gentleman in the Fourth Ward. Someone who lived behind him was discharging water from his crawl space into the gentleman's backyard, which they are not supposed to do. I had called Matt Lake, that's his name, I got it straight. I called his department. Joe Fish went out and he looked at it and corrected and did what had to be done and did talk to the homeowner. So we did get that straight. So everybody be careful with your sub pumps. Water will be coming in from the snow and do not discharge it in anybody's backyard. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Moving on to Public Safety, Councilor Hardaway.
We had a meeting that was held on February 3rd with the Chief of Police, the Assistant Chief of Police, Building and Planning Director, Sheila Shine, and Counselor Haynes Edwards was in attendance as well as the fire inspector. And we discussed a possibility for contracting an employee for liens, but more details are needed. We need to have a better understanding in order to move forward. So I will be bringing this forward so we can figure out what we can do to better assist code enforcement on blighted and abandoned properties.
Very good.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Elections, Public Relations, and Town Beautification, Councilor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We had a meeting last week about our gateway signs. We are fastly moving forward with it. I think our next meeting is going to be the 24th, 25th, to get some more updates on pricing so we can get some preliminary signs put up for residents to see.
Great. Economic Development, Councilor Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, there's an Economic Development Commission meeting on a week from tonight at 5 o'clock on the 18th. It's in relation to one of the ordinances that is on the agenda tonight, And then there's also an Economic Development Committee meeting at 5 o'clock on the 24th before our council workshop.
Very good, thank you. Utility liaison?
No report.
Very good. Moving on to Parks, Recreation, and the Dean and Barbara White Community Center, Counselor Sean Pettit.
Yes, Mr. President, we'll have our standard fourth Thursday meeting in February, Michael, at 5 o'clock. Jerry will be on board with us.
Yes.
There are some items I've given Michael to put on the agenda that we need to discuss. Lisa is not with us tonight. I would have deferred to her, so we will get caught up at the end of the month.
Okay. Moving on to special committees tonight, Abandoned and Blighted Properties, Counselor Shi.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have, I would like to thank Code Enforcement Officer Matt Panuka because he and his team are doing a great job thus far. We have code warnings, 64 of them, citations, 32, current vacant abandoned cases, there are 15. Then the blighted properties, there are currently 6 abandoned properties, and that is all.
Very good, thank you. Special Town Projects, Counselor Neal.
Thank you, President Bella. We have our Black History event coming up, and I will let Councilor Shi explain that.
Thank
Counselor
you,
Shi.
Vice President Neal. We are having our first Black History Family Sneaker Ball. It is an event for all family, all ages to attend. The parent or guardian must be with the child when they attend this event. It is Friday, February the 28th, from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. Tickets are available for purchase. They are $10. You can purchase them here at Town Hall in the Clerk Treasurer's office or at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center. Wearing your special attire with gym shoes. That is what a sneaker ball is. So I hope to see you guys out. Come on out and have some fun for Black History Month.
Excellent.
And that event, can I just add, is open to the residents, grandparents, to bring grandchildren, aunts and uncles, to bring nieces and nephews. So
Everybody.
it's not just closed down to the high school students to attend. It's for the community, for the entire community.
Very good. Semi-Quincentennial Committee, Counselor Shi.
I have nothing to report.
Very good. Moving on tonight to Department and Commission reports. Northern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, Counselor Hardaway.
No report.
Did I catch you off guard, Keisha?
A little bit.
Okay, you got to keep up. Lake County Solid Waste Management District.
Thank you, President Bella. We don't have another meeting scheduled until March. Fingers crossed, we can get a quorum.
Okay. Shared Ethics Entity.
No report.
Fire Territory Board. Mrs. Neal and Ms. Hardaway.
We have a meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m.
Very good. Mr. January, Clerk Treasurer's Office.
Sure. All right. For those of you all in the audience, first of all, thanks for coming out. Food and beverage tax. For the previous, we just got a check for $241,928.05. I'm not going to go into the details in terms of how much cash we have today, but I do want to mention that I'm going to talk with the council just to make sure that I can do this, but I have some new reports that I want to provide to the town on a regular basis, and it basically just shows how it's a breakdown of how we've spent the money through the town, and I'm breaking it down in a columnar format. Traditionally, when you get the reports from the town, they're fund reports, and for anybody that is in business or looked at a financial statement, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But this breaks down how we spent money in terms of payroll, supplies, and the various categories that we have. And it's a work in progress. But I believe it gives people a better understanding of where the town's money is being spent. And when I say being spent, so last year in total, and this is for 2024, we spent $55,034,753.84. And that's cash outflow. Some of that was debt service, where we were paying things, but just in one line item alone, payroll, $8,850,742.48.84. It breaks it down. And so long as I can provide this to everyone, which I believe I can, you're welcome to get a copy of it. It'll help you basically hold everyone on the podium accountable, and so that you can understand where our money is going in the town. So that's something that I promised, and this is just the beginning of it. I'm going to add something as often as I can so that we can understand where the town's money is going. And I believe that is my report.
I have a question.
Sure.
The food and beverage money that you just announced, is that for 2 months? Because it seems awful high for just 1 month, sir.
Correct. So for the month of December alone, this is a combination of multiple months. People were going back and making payments when they didn't. And it's odd enough, when you look at this list, there are people on here that should have been on here for the previous months that didn't pay. But for the month of December alone, it was $140,043.36. And it goes down from there, just in terms of what we collected in the previous months. But to answer your question, December alone was $140,000. The rest of it was back pay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that concludes my report.
Moving on to department reports. Police Department, Chief Nusis.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have my report for January yet. It'll be completed by the next meeting. One of the things I'd like to mention is that we are accepting applications for police officers, and that's going to be going all the way through March 1st, 4 p.m. So if anybody's interested, please come on by and drop off an application. We've had 2 officers that had over 20 years. One had over 30 years. Both of them retired. And then we had another officer that went to the federal division, went to the marshals. So we have 3 spots that are open. We're going to be looking to hire some officers. It seems like everybody else is hiring. I don't know what's in the air, that every department seems to be hiring right about now at the same time. So the other thing that we're working on right now is we're seeking out possible grants for, as Mr. Griffin probably proud of me to say it this way, capital assets versus equipment, right? We're looking at any ways that we can try and cut down on any cost to the department. So that way, if there's any type of equipment, even vehicles, if we can purchase with the grants, we're going to try and attempt to do so. That's one of our projects for the year. Lastly, I would like to give a shout out to Detective Ridgway. He worked on a case, a trafficking case, it was through it's 2 different states that we know of. This was a case that he put a lot of time and effort into. He worked with another agency, and we were able to secure charges on this person. So we were able to get charges on somebody that has been trafficking underage girls. And we're expecting more to come. This is something that we've been seeing more of that's coming out through not just Merrillville, but throughout the country. So just wanted to give a recognition to him. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Planning and Building Department, Sheila Shine.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning and Building Department has distributed their 2024 year in review. I just have a couple of highlights from that report. The report reflects new commercial, new residential, interior remodels. It also reflects our home occupation permits, rental registration, and contractor's license. Our inspectors did 5,133 inspections last year in the building department. We issued 1,526 permits. The total cost of evaluation for those permits was $232,351,479, and the total cost of fees were $1,620,488.81. There's a couple of pictures in there, and we tried to capture what the department did throughout the year in this report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Sheila. Street Department, Mr. King, anything else to add?
I'm just going to piggyback on the cars parking in the street. It's very difficult for our plows to get around when cars are parked on the street. There are spots up north on the north end of town where we can't even get a plow down the street because cars parked on both sides of the streets. Plows are 12-foot wide. If we can't get down it, we don't go down it. We're not in the business of repairing cars. So keep that in mind, and if you could remove the cars from the streets, that would greatly help us, especially with the storm we have coming tomorrow, so.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Griffin?
Mr. President, Madam Vice President, members of the council, Mr. January, you have before you the manager's report for today. I encourage you to read it at your leisure. Unless you have a specific question about something in there, I'd be very pleased to be seated.
Thank you, Michael. Moving on this evening to general orders, we do have on first reading, ordinance 25-03. It's an ordinance of the Town Council of Merrillville authorizing the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue bonds of the town of Merrillville, Indiana, and approving and authorizing other actions in respect thereto.
Motion to approve, Mr. President.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Pettit, seconded by Mrs. Uselak for approval. Mr. Svetnoff, what are we doing here with this ordinance, please?
Council President, at this time, what you're doing is you're approving, this is the first step in issuing the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue financing bonds for a project named Liberty Estates West. So this is the first reading of the ordinance. This does not mean that the ordinance passes. This is just the first reading and two readings of this exact ordinance itself.
So is this basically what we did for the existing Liberty Estates East?
Correct.
I'll call it?
Correct, and it's a mirror image of Liberty Estates East. This is just Liberty Estates West that is concerning the same type of development, nature, and character.
Yep.
So,
I think, councilors, we talked about this in our workshop extensively about this 400-acre development. You recall? Any other discussion on it?
I have a comment.
Mr. January?
Sure. So I spoke with Mr. Griffith and Mr. Angie Chilcott.
Griffin?
Yes. And Section 4 was addressed. We actually put in the details. But other sections that needed to be addressed were Section 6 and Section 12. And it basically just gets to the point about who can actually sign the documents. I requested that the language that states that any other officer of the town may execute the bonds, which are not according to Indiana statute, be removed. It wasn't removed. So I don't know how we're going to proceed with this because.
it's only a first reading.
First reading, we can do some tweaks before the second reading.
Okay, because that's, I won't sign anything
Can you
else.
send those to us?
I
to
did.
me?
Yes. Okay.
Well, then we
I
have
didn't
your
receive-
assurances that you're going to sign the documents when they're tendered to you then?
That's my job. I've never not signed
Yeah, that's your
anything that I
duty,
was
to
supposed to.
attest to it, yeah.
Yes,
It's just a attestation. Yeah. Can you send those to me then?
yes.
Okay. Any other discussion from the councilors? Hearing none, Mr. January, roll call, please.
Sure. Vice President Neal,
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards,
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton,
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak,
Yes.
Councilman Pettit,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway,
Yes.
President Bella.
Aye.
7 in favor.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. There are no second reading ordinances tonight. We do have a resolution 25-08. It's a resolution to void stale dated checks outstanding and unpaid for a period of 2 years or more in all matters related thereto.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Uselak, second by Counselor Shi. I think. Neil?
Neil
Counselor
got
Neal.
it first.
Excuse me, guys. You sound too much alike. To approve Resolution 25-08. I believe this is just housekeeping to take care of old checks. You see the list on the last page. These are checks the town has issued, and for some reason, the recipients have never cashed the checks, I believe. Is that right, Mr. January?
Correct.
We need to do this in compliance with Indiana code, to make sure we comply with State Board of Account regulations.
Very good. Any other discussion? It's a simple resolution, voice votes okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That motion carries. Excuse me. Moving on tonight to Resolution 25-09. It's a resolution of the town of Merrillville authorizing an establishment of event fees and charges by the Special Town Projects Committee. This will allow the committee to set rates for certain events without going through the process with the entire council. Is that right, Mr. Griffin?
With your permission, Mr. President, yes. It's a practice that we've done. By custom, it would be fine under Robert's rules. I always feel like we need to have some authority for this. This is a function of home rule. I'm recommending a resolution so we can see how it works. Eventually, we should have that put into the code so that they can have clear authority. It's never come up in an external audit, but it might. They're going to ask about how fees were set, where was the authority for that. So this will clear that up. It officially ratifies what they've been doing all the way from the start of this term, and it will authorize them to continue for the balance of the year for every other activity that they encounter.
So we'll need to ask Mr. Pettit to call for a committee meeting of the Council Affairs Committee.
Yes.
Any other discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Have a motion.
We didn't get the
Oh,
motion. I make
ahead
a
of myself.
motion for Resolution 25-09.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Uselak with the proper second by,
The two of them.
now, discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries, Mr. Griffin.
I thank the council.
Moving on tonight to BZA and large gathering actions.
Mr.
Mrs. Shine.
Mr. President, we have one petition before us tonight. It is a special exception approval for Ahmad Zagular, and I know I messed up your name, Ahmad. I apologize. He's the petitioner. The owner is JST Properties, and the purpose is to allow a mechanic shop to be located at 5960 Broadway. Petitioner is requesting a special exception approval from Section 21-136 to allow a mechanic shop to be located at 5960 Broadway in a C2 Community Commercial Zoning District. The location is presently a muffler shop, and petitioner wants to operate a full-service auto repair shop offering comprehensive vehicle repairs. He will offer engine services to include diagnostic repairs, rebuilding, and the replacement of engines, routine oil and filter changes for all types of vehicles, exhaust and muffler services to include replacement and repair of electrical vehicles, including batteries and wiring issues, vehicle alignment services, tire repairs, including replacement and balancing, heating and cooling system repairs, suspension and steering repairs, and general maintenance, including vehicle inspections, tune-ups, fluid changes, and preventive care. Petitioner owns the Ride and Tide used car dealership next to the property. The petitioner will adhere to the parking conditions that were placed prior to this petition, this special exception approval request. The mechanic shop parking will be for the customers of the mechanic shop only. There will be no overnight parking in the parking lot or parking of cars from the used car dealership. Petitioner is committed to the community and compliance. He will maintain a clean and professional premise. He will ensure proper waste disposal of automotive fluids and parts. Petitioner will avoid any activity that creates excessive noise, pollution, and disruption to the neighboring properties. No painting or body work will be performed. The hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday and closed on Sunday. There will be 5 employees, and it is for this petitioner only, at this location only, and for this use only. The Board of Zoning Appeals voted to approve this 4 with 1 absent. The conditions that was placed on this was no cars would be parked on the property for more than 20 years.
20 days.
20 days.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Lot of reading. Okay, Attorney Adam.
20 years.
20 days, 20 days.
We were all going to be classic cars.
Yes, 20 days.
Good evening, Attorney Adam Swarden, Swarden Law, PC, here on behalf of petitioner, and I have my client here, Everything that Sheila kind of reiterated as far as the scope and extent of what they want to do at this location is accurate. They're basically buying the existing USA muffler and automotive transmission repair shop and continuing that business and just further edifying what all those services are that they're going to provide at that location. So this is what they're going to buy, they're going to own, they're going to operate. They may change the name of the business. They haven't gotten quite that far yet, but the current operator is still there until this process gets completed before transitioning to new ownership.
Great. Whose district is this, Keisha? Any questions for the petitioner?
Yes, I have a question.
Mrs. Uselak?
Okay, it is stated in this report that they own the Ride Time used car dealership. This is the one on 59th and Broadway?
Yes.
Because he also has a Ride Time on Route 30
Correct.
in my ward. And we approved that about a year ago. Okay? So it's two different ride times, right?
Correct.
That-
Yeah, that rad time I think that was on 30 was a little bit
It's
longer than
on
that.
30 right off of Hendricks Place.
Correct.
Yeah, by McDonald's, past McDonald's. Okay, I wanted to make sure about the ride time.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, we did have an extensive discussion at the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting about the importance of not having too many cars on the lot, and I just wanted to make sure I had that discussion with the attorney and also with Ahmad about the importance of not having a lot of cars on the lot, and I just want to make sure that I bring it up to the council that we did have that discussion.
And that there will be no cars from the dealership being stored on this lot.
Yes.
Oh, I have one more thing to add. Sure. The lighting is very good on Route 30. You keep the lights on all night there, correct?
Yeah,
Because
it's on
I
a
see
timer.
it. Pardon?
It's on a timer, so yeah, it stays on all night until the morning.
Oh, okay, because when I drive by, it is so fully lit up, it looks good. I wanted to thank you for that.
No, of course.
Very good. Anything else from the council? Is there a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the mechanic shop at 5960 Broadway with Ahmad Zagul, the petitioner, okay?
With the reporting conditions as Sheila reported.
Okay, with all of the conditions that Sheila had stated.
Thank you, Mrs. Uselak. Is there a second?
Second?
Leona? Anything else from the council? Mr. January, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. President. Vice President Neal.
Yes.
Councilwoman Haynes Edwards.
Aye.
Councilwoman Chandler Felton.
Aye.
Councilwoman Uselak.
Yes.
Councilman Pettit.
Yes.
Councilwoman Hardaway.
Yes.
President Bella.
Thank you for your investment in town. I vote aye.
All right.
7-2.
Motion carries. We are now open for public comment. If you have a public comment, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We'd love to hear from you.
Pablo Payan, 8031 Massachusetts Street. So I got a couple comments. The first one was, I sent a couple emails in regards to tip zones. And I wanted to kind of get an idea on why you guys are pushing to expand these TIF zones. And my question was, can you share with us what are the benefits of expanding the TIF zones? And Mr. Griffin kindly replied back. And one of his responses were, I can share the purpose of 4 expansions. Silos East Economic Development Area and associated allocation area primarily will serve to support the development of a data center for the location. So my concern is, are we using the money from TIF zones to also redevelop the same area for the developers? And on top of that, we're giving them tax abatements in that location? Because it sounds like we're using the TIF money to develop that location. And the other location, also Mississippi Street, RDA, and associated allocation area, is to support the development of Crow Halsted property. So again, I need maybe some further clarification if that's what it means. If we're using the TIF money to redevelop the locations where the developers are going to be put in place, instead of somewhere in the town that we needed. My other concern is also about the street lighting. Has there been any progress with the street lights for Marcella and Gianna? This has been going on for over a year now, so I don't know from the last conversations that we had.
We'll get
Steve?
Anything else, Steve? The report is still nothing yet, right?
Yeah, so the streetlights out in Broadfield, I'll be meeting with Angie. She's in training this week. She'll get a hold of me. We'll take care of that. And what is the other one?
Gianna Barrera. It should be on the email. I believe it's Georgia Street. Because when we last talked about it, they said there was 2 orders for these. And then when I spoke to the gentleman from NIPSCO, he said there was only an order for Marcella's street light.
I don't know what's on Georgia.
We'll get some details and answer your email if that's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That way I can let them know what's going on with this.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
My name's Jennifer. I live at 9382 Shelby Lane, Crown Point. It's unincorporated Crown Point. It is Merrillville. And I'm here because when is Merrillville going to start standing up to our schools? When are we going to put our kids first? My child is 7 years old in the 1st grade. And I know you don't care, she's not in school. You guys don't care. You're talking about finances. But our school district is failing our children. She has not stepped 1 foot in school this year. You know, Dr. Suggs told me, why ain't your child in school? That's the question of the day. You know what the man offered me? 70 cents a mile to take my child to and from school. Without that, she can't be in your school. Why? I'll tell you why. This town is discriminating against every disabled person, as far as I can see. I mean, my child, I know many other families in Merrillville that have been booted out of the school, that they're not worth it. You know, I'm glad you're doing the thing. My grandson is mixed. I'm probably going to take him. Thank you. That is amazing. But when are we going to hold Merrillville accountable? Because, I mean, I don't know who all has kids here. My kid's in a wheelchair. But she doesn't deserve the education that my 7-year-old granddaughter does. How is that fair? When are we putting our kids first? We don't. Everything else, I mean, someone's waiting for lights for over a year. I'm waiting a whole year to get my kid in school. I'm watching town council meetings go crazy because of finances. I'm sitting there crying because my kid can't go to your schools. Because she's not worth it. That sucks.
Have you addressed this with the school board, ma'am?
I have addressed it with the school board.
Okay.
Dr. Suggs has told me where to shove it. The principal told me, I'm so sorry. The special education director says, well, we don't have a leg to stand on. I mean, the assistant special education director said, I'm so sorry, Jennifer. She's known me for 13 years. The woman was crying on the phone, apologizing. So yeah, I've tried every avenue. I have filed the OCR, I have filed an IDR, and I have filed a DOE. But now, when is Merrillville gonna hold the schools accountable? It starts with us, right? Yes. I mean, it starts with you guys, right? Are our children important? Are the schools of Merrillville important? Because guess what? Those children will have your spots one day. Will it be a heyday in here? Or are they going to love everyone and they accept everyone? Because right now, I don't know which way to go. I really don't. My child can't even get on your school bus. She can't even go to your school. You know, I had to get a lawyer and it's still denied? I'm sick. I'm sick of it. So I'm sorry, I'm frustrated. I'm sorry. I pay my taxes. My taxes are paid up. Do everything I'm supposed to do for Merrillville. Do everything. Merrillville fails my child. Merrillville failed me as a parent. How do I fix it? Who's going to help me? I'm lost for words here, people.
Can you stay after the meeting and so we can get some more details from you? Would that be okay?
I can.
Okay. Thank you.
Brian Messarch. Jennifer, I feel for your pain. Here's another person who has a family member where the town of Merrillville is not respecting ADA. It's sickening. You all should be jumping out of your chairs to help this woman, because there's nothing worse than being a parent and you think that you can't help your child. There better be more than just a discussion after this meeting. There better be somebody with answers. Sorry, that was unexpected. I do want to thank Chief Nusis, sent patrol and code enforcement to a street that had a semi on it for several weeks in Ward 4 on 79th and Whitcomb. They went and cleared things up. I'm not really sure the details. The person moved the semi truck and then apparently moved it back and then it got towed. It's so unfortunate, but that's what I want to see. Yes, yes, yes. That's what we want our police department to do.
Brian, that has been reported numerous times last year.
It got taken care of?
I had people out there and the police chief and the code enforcer. He would move the semi and then bring it back, and they would have to come back again.
I'm happy
So now
with,
you reported it when it came back again, I guess.
I'm happy with the tow, and if people are getting in the ways of snowplows, tow them or plow them, I don't care. Get them off the street.
Are you
I'm all for
driving
that.
around in my ward, Brian, and checking this out?
No, that's just somebody in the Merrillville Change Agency that lives on 79th.
Okay, very good.
They asked me to see if I could contact the police department, and I did for them.
Because he's also parked in the parking lot by the restaurant there, the Mediterranean restaurant, and then he would move it from there. So we've been watching.
In some ways, I thanked the police department and code enforcement, and I felt in some ways bad, but this problem is all over Merrillville. We need to start addressing it just like that. Bravo to the patrol and to the code enforcers. One final thing, I got yet another anonymous letter in the mail today, and I'm going to read portions of it. This is not my opinion, this is not my thoughts, but somebody has asked me to obviously express this, and I think it's kind of sad, and it's endemic of people not listening to other people. It starts off, this person obviously does not know about 16-point font, so excuse me. It starts off really well. Brian, you are slowly becoming our hero. Okay. I witnessed firsthand how Council Lady Hardaway's micromanagement and overbearing actions created a toxic environment. This constant butting in made it nearly impossible for staff to do their jobs and led to many good employees, including myself,
Council President, at this time,
to either be
we're not going to let him
forced out.
be derogatory to Councilwoman Hardaway.
Right.
I'm just reading a letter.
Reading somebody else's letter.
And you do not have, by Robert's rules, any right to interrupt me while I have the floor.
I have the right to alert the Council President. Catcalling is not allowed. No.
Okay, you can go.
All right.
He's out.
Escort him out, please.
He's out.
Escort him out. We're not going to put up with that in the meetings, okay? I told you guys.
Here goes Joe. Here goes Joe. He gotta go too.
You can stand with them outside.
What the hell? What?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I'll provide copies to all this, but this is what my point is. This, unnecessary, but this is the result of not listening. This, we all make mistakes. We all do things wrong. There are people who come up to me and they say, oh, we love you, but you know what? There's equally people who think I'm a total dip. Not everybody agrees with me. I have to reevaluate, reset my compass from time to time. This is the issue. We need to start listening to people. And the thing that bothers me the most is this. Whether you want to hear it or not, there are a lot of people who work for the town of Merrillville who are not happy. They are not inspired. They do not feel like they can be inventive or creative or go for the gusto. A lot of them are afraid, like this letter says, of being fired. When you come in and you have an environment where you are constantly in fear of losing your job, and many of these people are having a hard enough time just scratching together to pay their NIPSCO bill or buy groceries, that's a problem. I've been calling for us for a conversation, but sometimes we need to take a hard look in the mirror and be like, hey, how can we solve this? Because this is going to continue to be a problem. And when we create an environment where people are accepted and feel like I can disagree or I can speak my mind and not necessarily feel like I'm going to get fired, that's what we need. And this is how the residents experience this. It doesn't matter if you're the best employee in the world. You might have a bad day and then somebody comes in and they talk to someone in the office and they get yelled at because everyone has a bad day. And so it ends up being bad service that the residents, and then the residents come and they complain. And I'm at the point where it's nice to complain, but I'm having meetings where I'm trying to tell people, let's stop complaining and let's start doing things. Let's start changing things. And that's the whole point of what the organization that I have tried to form. There's going to be frustrated people, but you know what? Some of us just want to do good things. That's what we need to get to. We need to get to that point. We need to get past this BS and get to the point where it's doing good.
Thank you. So the next council meeting is February 25th at 6:30. The RDC meeting is February 25th at 6:15. The council workshop is February 24th at 6 o'clock. And a reminder about the Black History Month Family Sneaker Ball, February 28th from 6 to 9.
Oh, I have an announcement too.
Mrs. Uszak.
Okay, thank you. The American Red Cross, they are having a blood drive at St. Thomas Aquinas School, and that will be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., February 23rd. If anybody feels they're in condition to give blood, please do so. You never know when you'll need it yourself.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
If
you.
there's no objection, we will adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.